Hey everybody, I'm Tim Ward and welcome back to Garden Sense. It was another real busy week for us over at rosensonline.com, so thank you very much for all of the support. We also had a wide range of questions that were submitted to us last week, so we picked a couple of them to address here today, so why don't we jump right in? The first question is from Karen. Hey Tim, I forgot what kind of mulch you recommend. I bought it last year and it worked great. So the type of mulch that we highly recommend is a hardwood bark mulch. And the reason for that is bark mulch tends to have a higher concentration of nutrients. It's a lot more dense in terms of the nutrients in it when compared to your regular kind of pulp or the fiber mulch, the wood fiber mulch that is so common out there. So again, hardwood bark mulch is what you want to use. Also, pine bark mulch nuggets are also really good. Make sure if you go this route though that you get kind of the larger nuggets for the pine bark. The smaller, kind of finer ones tend to wash away if there's a real heavy rain. So again, we would definitely recommend the hardwood bark mulch, and if you can't find that, pine bark mulch in the larger nuggets, that's definitely what you want to go with. The next question is from James. Hey Tim, I just received my order of Triple Play. How do I apply it? Can I put it all down at the same time? Which should I put first? How long do I have to wait to add the next product? So we do get this question quite a bit, and the answer is whenever it works out for you in terms of your timing, okay? So you can absolutely put all three products down the same time, and it doesn't matter what order you go in. For example, and this is just me, I typically put down the fertilizer first, then I put down the weed control with Gallery, and then I put down the crabgrass control with Dimension. And that's just the order that I usually go in, and I almost always have to put them down the same day. Now, depending on where you live, you may want to hold off on the Dimension for a little bit of time because it's just not quite warm enough for that crabgrass to start germinating. And so putting the Dimension down too early just means it won't be as effective over the course of that late spring and into early summer. So again, you can certainly put down the Gallery and the fertilizer now. You may want to wait a couple of weeks for the Dimension, but again, depending on where you live, it's perfectly okay to put them all down at the same time, the same day, and the order of the products is entirely up to you. The next question is from George. Hey Tim, I read 2% was discontinued, yet I heard it mentioned on Radio Garden Sense on WMAL. Is it still around? Where can I get it? If not, what has replaced it? All right, so this is kind of a multi-part question. So let's address 2% and if it's discontinued. Yes, it is discontinued. You can't buy it any longer. Now, in terms of the product that kind of replaces it in the market, we definitely would recommend Tenacity. Tenacity is both a pre and post-emergent product. It's highly effective, but frankly, it's a little bit pricey. We used to carry it a couple of years ago, but we actually stopped selling it because we simply weren't going through enough inventory to make sense that we would continue to carry it. But it's a really great product. It can be a little bit pricey, and you need to read the labels really carefully in terms of when you can apply it and how to apply it. So again, it's not necessarily the easiest product to use, but it is highly effective when done right. Now, why are you still hearing about 2% on Radio Garden Sense? Well, the reason is because WMAL is running reruns of our old radio program. Now, you guys know if you've been following these video podcasts that we actually stopped producing the radio program around July of 2022. And we transitioned away from the radio program in favor of these shorter video podcasts. Unfortunately, WMAL didn't have anyone to replace that time slot or to take up a time slot because, as some of you probably have seen, it's moved from the morning into the early afternoon. So what they're doing is just going back and playing reruns of the program. And unfortunately, the program you heard was talking about a product that is no longer available on the market. So 2% is gone. The radio program are reruns. If you want to get the most current information on products, you really need to stay right here and listen to our video podcasts. And as far as a replacement, highly recommend Tenacity. Again, go online, you can find it. I'm not sure of any garden centers in the Mid-Atlantic area that sell it, but it's a pretty popular product for specific needs. So I'm sure you can go out on Amazon or something like that and track it down. This question is from Daniel. Hey Tim, is triple play safe for dogs? So we actually get this question a lot, and we love our furry little friends here over at Garden Sense and Rosen's Online, so we don't want to do anything that's going to put them in harm's way. All three of the products available within the triple play, which are Turf Truss lawn fertilizers, Turf Truss broadleaf weed control with Gallery, and the Turf Truss crabgrass control with Dimension, are safe. Now, I should say that any type of fertilizer or weed control that you put down in your lawn or in your garden, if consumed in large enough quantities, is going to make yourself, an animal, your pets, it can make them sick. So again, when you apply these, make sure that you follow the instructions on the labels carefully, and that's going to mitigate any risk. Now, one thing that's really common with granular products is dust. If you guys have ever put down fertilizers or any type of granule weed control on a dry, sunny day, you'll know that there's a little bit of dust that it creates. That dust can obviously get on an animal's paws or things like that. And so there's two ways to kind of mitigate this problem. The first might be just water it in. You don't need to water in Turf Truss fertilizer to activate it. The Gallery and Dimension, it does actually help to water it in because it starts that chemical process, that breakdown to create that chemical barrier on the soil a little bit faster. However, by watering it down, you're also going to mitigate a lot of that dust. And so once it dries, your dogs or your cats or any of your pets are going to be able to go out on the grass and it's not going to be an issue. The other thing, if you're still really concerned, is make sure that when your pet comes in, and again, I would only worry about this within like the first 24 hours, but when they come inside, just wipe their paws down. Again, it's not so much wiping it down because it's unsafe for them. It's more to do with trying to protect, your carpets, your floors, your couches if the animals jump up on that. I don't want to have to deal with that with my pets, so just make sure you wipe down their paws when they come in. But again, from a toxicity standpoint, it's not dangerous. Again, anything can be dangerous if consumed in large enough quantities, but if you're letting your dog out to do its business and it comes right back inside, you've got nothing to worry about. The fifth question is from Roger. Hey Tim, I live in southern Delaware and we're having a weed issue. What is this purple blooming weed in our field and lawns? Hey Roger, so this is an easy one. That's dead nettle. It's a very common weed found all throughout the Mid-Atlantic, and frankly, varieties of it are found all over the United States, and it's frankly relatively easy to kill. There's a lot of products you can purchase that will kill it. We always recommend Bonide Weed Beater Ultra with the RTU hose connector spray. We think that works great, but honestly, any of the weed killers from Bonide are gonna do the trip. The Fertilome Weed-Free Zone is another product that's going to take care of it. Again, this is a real popular weed, and so any of the lawn weed killers that you find, chances are they're going to be able to take care of this. But again, we highly recommend the Weed Beater Ultra RTU over at rosensonline.com. The next question is from Albert. Hey Tim, is it best to put Dimension on wet grass like dew or rain? Or is it best to water it into the lawn? Great question. So here's what you want to do. You want to mow your grass a little bit shorter than you normally do. And then you want to put Dimension down when it's dry. And then you want to activate it by watering it. Now, why do we follow those specific steps? Okay, first, again, with Dimension and also with Gallery, but frankly, even the Turf Truss Lawn Fertilizer, the goal is to get it down to the soil. So the shorter you cut the grass when you apply it, it's going to be able to reach the soil a little bit easier. If you have a very lawn and your lawn's looking real bushy right now and you try to put it down, some of that chemical is actually going to sit on top of the grass and it's just not going to be effective. So cutting it short allows those granules to get down to the soil surface. You want to put it on dry, primarily because if, again, it's wet, what could happen is it could get hung up on some of the blades of grass. It could stick to the grass, but you're walking around your yard, which means your feet would be wet, so it's going to stick to your feet as well. So putting it down dry is really important. And again, as I already mentioned, after you have it down, water it in. Again, you don't necessarily have to. The evening dew, the morning dew, a rain will take care of that, but the chemical is not going to start breaking down and creating that barrier until it gets wet. So by putting it down and then watering it in, you're actually going to speed up that process, okay? So mow your grass a little bit shorter, put it down dry, water it in, you'll be good to go. The last question is from Maxine. Hey Tim, I have heard that coffee grounds are good for vegetable gardens. Is that true? So just like anything, there are pros and cons. And so I'm going to present some of the primary pros and cons when it comes to coffee grounds in your garden and let you decide. Let's talk about the pros first. Well, coffee grounds are light. So when you put them and kind of amend your garden soil with them, it actually will help aerate the soil a little bit better. It's going to be a little bit lighter. Consequently, it's also going to allow water to drain out of the garden a little bit more quickly, and those are both good things. Coffee grounds are organic, and so they're actually going to add some nutrients in, with the primary nutrient being nitrogen. So those are definitely some benefits. Now, there's some additional benefits as well. Snails and slugs supposedly don't like coffee grounds. So putting them in your garden is going to keep some of those pests away. And there's actually been a couple of studies, and they're not really conclusive yet, but there have been some studies that have actually shown that it kind of helps repel cats. If you guys have ever had cats use your garden as its personal litter box, using coffee grounds may help mitigate a little bit of that problem. Let's talk about the cons. Well, if you put too much coffee ground into the soil, because it's light, it can actually start to get compacted together and actually create a little bit of a barrier that is actually going to not be real good in terms of some of the nutrition that you're going to want to put back into the soil. It could actually create enough of a barrier where it's actually going to cause some water runoff, and so the roots of your plants actually aren't even going to get as much of the water that it needs. In addition, those grounds are still going to contain a little bit of caffeine, and certain plants, the roots do not do well if they get too much caffeine. So again, there's a little bit of a risk there. And going back to kind of what we talked about a couple of questions ago in terms of dogs, if a dog consumes too much coffee ground, it's going to make him sick. And so again, if you have a real curious dog that likes to nose around and is breathing this stuff up, it could potentially make them sick. Now, I'll be real honest with you. When you look at the pros, and I do know some people who do use coffee grounds in their gardens, and that's fine. I don't, and the reason I don't is I talked to you, I think last week or the week before, about kind of how I amend the soil so that I keep it nice and airy, and so that it drains really well and gets some of that natural nutrition when I use compost to mix into the dirt. However, in terms of the nitrogen that the coffee grounds could also supply the soil, I simply prefer Garden Trust. The balanced NPK profile that it has provides so much of the nutrients and the secondary micronutrients into the soil that I've never needed anything else. So again, there are pros and cons. There are more than I've just given you here, but those are kind of the ones that kind of come top of mind. But do your own research and make the decision that's best for you. Just a couple final thoughts here, guys. We've actually made the decision based on weather patterns really across the country that we're actually gonna run the Turf Truss Triple Play up through April 15th. So we're gonna run this promotion for a couple of more weeks because we have some customers in parts of the country that are actually still dealing with snow, still dealing with weather that's too cold to effectively put down gallery and dimension. So instead of cutting it off at the end of the month, which was our original plan. Mother Nature had other ideas, so we're actually going to extend that a couple of more weeks. So if you have not picked up your Turf Trust Triple Play, do so now. Again, we have been burning through product left and right thanks to you, and we really appreciate your support, but we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to take advantage of the Turf Trust Triple Play. So head over to rosensonline.com and take advantage now. Again, you're going to get the lawn fertilizer, you're going to get the weed control with Gallery, and you're going to get the crabgrass control with Dimension. It's at a discounted price, and you're going to get free shipping. Now, we're reaching the end of March here, and so we need to start looking ahead in terms of some things that we're going to want to do. We're going to want to start talking probably next week or the week after about grub control and what you're going to want to do there. We also need to really start looking ahead to our vegetable gardens and how we're going to lay those out, and what products we're going to want to keep those free of weeds, make sure that they're getting the proper nutrition. So again, these are all things that, depending on where you are in the country, we need to start thinking about in the next couple of weeks. Folks, again, thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate all the time that you devote to us each week to watch these videos. We hope you have a great week. God bless.